Peace be upon you all and welcome to the channel. In this video we will tackle how to draw letters within a word. So we will see how a letter is written before at the beginning of the word, in the middle of the word, and at the end of the word. This is important because Arabic is a cursive language. All the letters are connected together except for a few letters that lack connections either before them or after them, but you will never see Arabic letters written as English. So if I want to say the word eat, the letters are not connected, but in Arabic there are no spaces, all the letters are connected. With that said, let us start. So we will begin. As you can see here, I created two layers. One layer I have these lines drawn to symbolize the lines on a notebook when you are writing. And on the second layer, I will be drawing the shape of the letter. At the beginning of the word will go here, the middle of the word, and at the end of the word. So this will help you understand the measurements or the relativity between the shape of the letter and the size of the letter with the line that you will be writing on, because some letters are written above the line, some are written above and below. We will start with the first letter, Alif, and with Alif you have your straight line like so. It ends at the line, and whether or not it has the hamza, it does not matter, because the alif as a vowel or alif as a consonant are both written in the same manner. So here is the alif, and if it is beginning the word, I will draw a line here. It's a bit crooked. I will draw a line here to indicate that this is a prefix and the word exists beyond it. And as you can see, there is a space, which means that alif never connects with a letter after it. There is a space. So as an example here, let us say I want to say the name Ahmed. So here is the alif, and then space, and then the ha. There's a space here, so it never connects with a letter after it, that is. Now in the middle of the word, the alif does connect to a letter before it. So I will draw a connector here, if I can draw a straight line, and then draw the alif. So I will draw a straight line here, and then why can I not draw straight lines? Connector and then up, and it could be either a vowel or a consonant. This connector indicates that the alif connects with a letter before it. So for example, the word sama, which could mean sky in certain contexts. See, the alif with a connector here that indicates it's connected to a letter before it. And I will draw this line here to indicate that there is a letter before it. Oh, okay, so I will do this, and I will do this. Next, we have the end of the word, and alif at the end of the word is the same as alif in the middle of the word. You have the connector, and you have either a vowel or a consonant with a letter before it. So this is how alif is written before, middle, and after. Do not worry, we will cover actual words, and we will write words together, a list of nouns, a list of adjectives, and so on and so forth. That will help cement how to write in Arabic. But for now, simply just practice drawing the shape of each letter in different parts of the word. Okay, now we go to can this still write? Oh no, I cannot write. How do I remove this? Oh, for goodness sake. Maybe Control A. Did I choose eraser by accident? Oh, I chose the color white. Sorry about that. There we go. Now, next letter we have is B. And with B, at the beginning of the word, you will have the end of the pot or the plate, and then push to the left, put the dot beneath the letter, and that is it. Then this part of the pan or the plate becomes a connector and connects to a letter after B. So B connects with a letter after it. How about in the middle of the word? You will have the connector, then you form the pan or the plate, put the dot, and the rest of the letter forms a connector and connects before. And also it will connect after. But since we know that already here, I will not put that. Just want to make sure that it connects before. And at the end of the word, it is the same as the middle, but we will write the letter fully like so. So here's the connector from the letter before it. Then we start drawing the plate like so. Just run after that. And there. The same as in the middle, except because it is the end, we will simply close the letter. Okay, now for the letter T. T is the same as B at the beginning of the word, but put the dots at the top, and this part of the plate or the pan becomes a connector, and it connects to a letter after it. In the middle of the word, it is exactly the same as B. You have the connector here, then you form the plate, and this becomes a connector to the letter after it. At the end of the word, the same as B. You have the connector, then you draw the letter fully to end the word. That is T. Th, or actually all the letters that are shaped as a plate or a pan, they all function, or rather they are all drawn the same way. So for Th, but with the 3 dots at the top, and there is the connector, and it connects to a letter after it. But as T and B, it also connects to a letter before it. And this connects to another letter. And at the end, you simply close the plate like so. Now for the letter G. For Jim, if you recall, it was shaped like so, the camel head, or that is what I refer to it. So you have, and the dot of course, you have the head and you have the body. And as you have guessed, the head is written on the line and the body is drawn below the line. However, at the beginning and middle, it is written slightly different. Slightly differently. Yeah, slightly different. At the beginning of the word, you only write the head of the jim, like so. And then, instead of curving downwards, you simply form a connector that will connect it to a different letter. And the connectors are not long connectors, they're quite short. So for example, if I want to write the word jamal, which means camel, here is the jim. Do not extend it too far. So once you're done with the shape, form the connector, very short connector, and then move to the next letter. Then mim forms a connector to the next letter. Do not elongate the connectors. With regards to the middle of the word, jim connects before it as well, so there's the connector. And actually it will be easier if I draw the head of the jim first, and then connect it, and then go to the left and form the connector there. This will connect to a letter after it. At the end, however, this is where we draw the full letter. As you have inferred, letters at the end of the word are written the same way they are drawn normally when we took the first lecture. So this is how a jim would look, this is how a ha will look, this is how a kha will look at the end of the word, and so on and so forth. The only difference is it will be drawn with a connector, because it connects to a letter before it. So there is the jim, and then you curve and go below the line. Control A. Now for the letter ha, exactly the same. I will try to speed up a bit, because this lecture may seem boring since I'm only writing letters, and they have the same concept. I'll simply cover all the letters so that you have the knowledge. Ha connects after. It also connects before. You do not have to draw the connector first and then the letter as I do. You can draw the letter first and then the connector, or you can draw the connector and then the letter. It is up to you. When you are writing the word, it will be much smoother than writing it alone. So for example, if I'm writing the name Muhammad, it happens automatically. I do not have to plan for it. But here, because I'm writing it by itself and I have to show you where everything lies, it seems a bit awkward for me to draw. Not saving again. To draw the letter with the connector. I just want you to practice identifying the shape of the letter within a word and how to write it within a word for now. Then once we start taking various words, and with practice, you will be able to write each letter flawlessly and smoothly. Lastly, here's the connector. That's a very ugly letter. Here's the connector. Here's the camel head, and curve downwards because it's the end of the word. This is the letter ha, not ha. Remember, ha is a different letter. This one is ha. Jim, kha. This is written the same way, except with the dot going above the letter instead of beneath it, as opposed to jim. So there is kha, connector, connects after it, and there's the dot. In the middle, there's the connector before it, and connector after, and it connects to a letter before it, and at the end of the word, curve downwards below the line, and it is connected and connects before it as well. Now for dal, we will see a difference here, and you will see it in a bit. At the beginning of the word, dal does not connect to a letter after it. There is no connector. There is space. For example, the name of the letter dal is written as such. Dal, alif mat or alif vowel, and lam. And as you can see, alif does not connect after it. And because dal does not connect after it as well, alif does not have a connector before it either. So the dal is like alif in terms of connections. It does not connect after it, it connects before it though. So in the middle of the word, here is the dal. And you can curve that slightly to make it shaped like this, or you can write it as a straight line upwards and a straight line sideways. It is up to you. And at the end of the word, it would look exactly like the middle of the word because dal remains on the line regardless. Then we have the letter zal. Exactly the same, except with a dot. So it does not connect after it. It does, however, connect before it. And the end of the word. Middle and end. For ra, ra follows the same rules as alif, dal, and dhal, with the only exception being the shape of the letter, of course. As we said before, you can either draw it like so or like so. It is up to you how you wish to draw it. In this tutorial, I will draw it like this, just to show the difference between the head and the body, with respect to the line, that is. And if you wish to draw it curved, once you understand where the head lies and where the body lies, you can judge the curvature. At the beginning of the word, as we said, ra does not connect after it. In the middle of the word, just like alif, dal, and dhal, it connects to the letter before it. So there's the head, and the body is below the line at an angle as such. And that indicates that it is connected to a letter before it. At the end of the word, exactly the same, with the hyphen to indicate that there is a word before it. Zay is exactly the same as ra, except with the dot at the top. And no connection after it. There is a connection before it. And at the end of the word, it connects to the letter before it as well. Now, sin follows the conventional connection, which is it connects to whatever is before it and whatever is after it, just like ban, tan, than, jim. But if you recall, sin has a head and a body, and as you inferred, the head is on the line, the body is below the line, and we'll see how it is drawn in a moment. At the beginning of the word, you only write the head, which is the horizontal 3, and instead of curving downwards, you will draw the connector, which connects it to the second letter. And here is the hyphen to indicate that there is a word after it. In the middle of the word, you have the connector before it. Then you draw the horizontal 3 or the W, and then another connector, and it connects before it and after it as well. At the end of the word, you have the connector before it. However, this is where you draw the full letter this time. So instead of going to the left, you will go downwards below the line and then curve upwards. This part does not have to cross the line all the way. That will make the letter too large. Once you cross the line or reach the line, you can stop there. Now for sheen, copy paste, except for the 3 dots, of course. So there is the sheen. Sheen in the middle of the word, before and after. Actually, I should add a hyphen after to indicate there is a word after as well as before. Yeah, I will do that from here onwards. And at the end, you draw the full letter like so. And there you go. Now for one of our favorite letters, Sod. Actually, Ha was our first favorite letter, yes. If you recall, with Sod, it had the ellipse, and then the small line, and then the body. On the line, below the line. But that is at the end of the word, of course. At the beginning of the word, we only write the head of each large letter. So you will have the ellipse, or the oval, with the line and then the connector at the beginning of the word. In the middle of the word, it connects before as well as after. If it helps with writing the Sod in the middle of the word, you can do a long line. This is the connector before, this is the connector after, and once you're done, you simply draw, oh, this looks quite ugly. You simply draw the head. It is up to you how you can gauge yourself and see which method suits you best with regards to writing Sod. I do not want to create a rule for it out of fear that people may follow it as a law. It is flexible, write it however you wish to write it, as long as people can understand what you are writing, and as long as you can read the letter in text and understand it as well. That is what is most important. Lastly, you have the connector here, then the ellipse, the small line. Then instead of going to the left, you end the letter, or end the word in this case. Sod. Next we have Dod. Exactly the same. So here is Dod. Sometimes you will see Dod written as so. So pretend this is a straight line of your notebook. Some people will start the ellipse or the oval from below the line like such to help with the curvature. If it helps you, you can go ahead and do that. So you can start from here and move upwards, or you can start from the line and draw the letter. It is up to you how you wish to draw it. But some texts, I think there is a computerized font for this part here as well, just in case you encounter it while reading. We will cover reading later, do not worry. Then we have the connector here at the before the letter, and then we have the connector after the letter. And at the end, we will draw the full letter. This is Dod. After Dod comes another favorite letter of ours, Ta. Ta does not have a body, it only has a head, so everything will be on the line. And since it has the ellipse, as with Dad and Sad, you can start the ellipse below the line and form it as such. It is up to you, whichever is easier for you. So with Ta, we will draw the ellipse, and the line on the left becomes the connector. So the letter Ta is shaped like so. This becomes the connector. So make sure you do not draw it too long. I'm only drawing it too long here to indicate that there is a letter after it, that is all. And then you draw the vertical line. Next comes the middle of the word. You have, so this is the hyphen that indicates something is before it, then the connector, the shape, the second connector, the straight line, and voila. At the end of the word, you will draw the connector and the shape of the letter, and that is it. This is Ta. Now for Dha, exactly the same, except with the dot, of course. So you have the circle, or the ellipse, or the oval, and the connector, the dot, and this is simply an indication. In the middle of the word, okay, I just want to match the line here, and then connector after, connector before, and there you go. Lastly, you have at the end of the word and that is it for Dha, another favorite letter. And by favorite I mean a difficult letter to pronounce, that is. Next is a very famous or infamous letter is the letter Ayn, the mirror image of the three, with a bigger body and a smaller head. And since it has a head and a body, this will be the shape of the letter at the end of the word, and the body will go below the line. Heads always stay on the line. For Ayn, you at the beginning of the word, you will draw the head. Okay, I need to draw a better head. You will draw the head, and instead of curving downwards, you will push a connector to the left, and there you go. For the middle of the word, however, there are two ways to write the letter. One is the most common one. The other is quite rare. I barely see it in text myself. I will cover the rare one first, then I will cover the common one, and it's saving again. The rare one is this. So you have the connector and another connector, and the letter comes shaped like I'll draw the shape first. It's easier for me. And then connect before, connect after, like that. This is extremely rare, probably 1% in terms of chances of encounter. The common one is this. You have the connector from the letter before. You rise at an angle as such, an acute angle or an obtuse angle depending on your perspective. Then you push to the right, then you descend at another angle to create an inverted triangle, as you see here. Instead of an upright, you're creating an inverted triangle. Once you close the triangle, push the connector to the left. and there you go. Sometimes you will find this darkened, especially in computerized font. It is, just remember, this is a ayn. You may also find that the top part of the triangle here, or the bottom part, depending on your perspective, is sometimes curved. It is still ayn. These are simply different variations of font. But normally, this is how you will see the letter ayn. Now, for the end of the word, you can combine the rare method here with the full letter, or you can combine the common one with the body of the letter. So with the rare one, you will see it like so. There's the connector, letter before it. You draw the head and then the body. This is rare, as we covered in the middle portion. The common one is you will draw the inverted triangle. Once you end, you form the body of the ayn, just like you're writing it like so, except you will draw it with a triangle and there's the connector. That is the only difference. I will be covering the common one from here onwards, but at least now you know the rare shape as well, in case you encounter it, which is highly unlikely. For ghayn, we will cover the common way instead of the rare method. Ghayn is exactly the same as ayn, the gargling sound. Not the same in terms of enunciation, of course. I meant in terms of writing. Beginning, middle, and end. There you go, the letter ghayn. Next is the letter fa, and because it is a plate letter, as ba and ta and tha, it will be written on the line, and it has the same connections as ba and ta and tha, with of course the difference being the circle to form an elevated head, like so. For fa, at the beginning of the word, you will draw the elevated head. Then, instead of drawing the plate becomes the connector. There you go. In the middle of the word, however, you can, so here's the connector, you can raise the head and then lower it and continue with another connector like so. However, I do not think I have ever seen anyone write it as such. The common method is this. Instead of raising the head, you simply draw a circle and continue and put the dot. Looks something similar to a spore or a bud with a dot above it. Now, at the end of the word, you can use the method we talked about. So here's the connector, elevate the head, and then draw the body. Or, and that is the most common method, you draw the connector, then draw the circle continuously with the connector, and then finish the letter. So it is a portion of this combined with ending the letter. Qaf is written in the exact same manner as fa, with the exception of the ending, because qaf has a head and a body. So this will be below the line. Sorry, So with qaf, you will draw the elevated head, draw it to the line, and then continue with the connector, and that is qaf. In the middle, you can draw it the rare method, or the least common method, but for the sake of this tutorial, I will continue with the popular methods or the common methods, but I will show you the rare methods as well, just in case you encounter them in the future. So with qaf, you will draw the connector, continue with circle with it, and continue the connector. And there you go. Something similar to a roller coaster. And at the end, here's the connector, the circle, but instead of going to the left, you go downwards. And there's qaf. After qaf comes kaf, and the hamza. I forgot to check what that hamza symbolizes. It is probably to differentiate it from lam, I would assume, but I have to check what it means, or the history behind it, I should say. Kaf is quite interesting because the beginning and middle formats of kaf are completely different than the end. Kaf is written as a mirror image of a Z, so like so, but instead of a straight line, it is a slanted line, like so. So with kaf, you will draw the slanted line, like so, and then continue with the mirror image of the Z and the connector. It does not have to be curved that much. You can lower the line a bit so it is somewhat here, for example, as long as it is not straight. Some people do write it with a straightened line, but it is not very conventional. So that is kaf. It looks similar to a radar antenna or a mortar cannon of sorts. The middle of the word is exactly the same as the beginning, with the exception of a connector before it, because kaf connects before and after. So here's the connector, the radar or the mortar cannon, and connector afterwards. And I should have mentioned that this is a connector too, so you do not have to elongate it to indicate the kaf. You can start the next letter from here. At the end, however, here's the connector. You draw the kaf the way we studied in the first lecture, like so. And as you can see, it is all on the line. Next is the letter lam. Lam may be confusing at first for some people because, at least from my experience, some people thought the lam is alif and some people thought that the alif is lam. You have to train your eye to be able to discern lam from alif. If you recall, lam is a straight line that goes downwards and curves upwards. This is the head and this is the body. So this part will be on the line. At the beginning of the word, the letter lam will simply be a straight line, like alif, except it connects as so. Connects with the letter after it, as opposed to alif. I know you will say, well, if alif does not connect and lam connects, how do people confuse it? For people who are still learning Arabic, some of them, in my teaching experience, would be confused between this and this if they are next to each other. And let us say there's a meme here, for example. They would tell me it starts with two lams, for example, or it starts with two alifs. It is probably because the brain is confused with these new shapes and new letters that it is unable to identify the difference. So I wanted to alert you to that confusion in case you yourself encounter it while you are reading or writing for the first time or for the first few months or weeks of learning Arabic. With regards to the middle of the word, lam connects, and this is another difference from alif, it connects before as well as after, and it is still a straight line. It is drawn exactly like a vowel alif or an alif med, without the hamza of course, and it is connected before and after. Lastly, you will draw the connector, the straight line, but you will continue with the body, and that is lam. For meme, we covered multiple variations for drawing the letter. For the sake of this tutorial, I will draw it with the circle, slight angle, and then moving downwards. That will be the head, this will be the body. However, if you are drawing it like so, as we talked in the first lecture, at least I hope I mentioned that in the first lecture, this will be considered a head only without a body, which means that this will be on the line. It does not go below it. Now with meme at the beginning of the word, you will find multiple variations for the letter. Some people write the meme as a circle like so and continue that way. I would advise against that because it may confuse you with fa or qaf. So what I would recommend for you to practice in the beginning, at least until you become aware and able to identify the differences between different Arabic writing styles, I would recommend for you to draw the circle and then drop it downwards and continue with the connector like so. At least in the beginning. In the middle, you will see that sometimes it is written like so, but that may cause confusion between the fa, the qaf, and the meme. So again, I will recommend that you either draw it like so with the circle going below the line. I personally do not write it that way. I prefer to write it as so. The connector, then form the circle and then move downwards like so, with the slanted lines connecting the meme to the connectors. At the end, here's the connector, form the meme, then push it downwards like so, and you're done. Or instead of ending it there, you draw the meme and then push downwards. Now, next letter we have is noon. Though noon is a U-shaped letter, in terms of writing, it is treated as a plate letter for the beginning and middle. The end always has the same shape as the actual letter. It is not deleting it. Oh, it's saving. Okay. So at the beginning of the word, the noon will be shaped like so, just like a ba or a ta, and this becomes a connector. And just like the ba and the ta, the noon is connected before it connects before it as well. And this is a very ugly dot. And then connect like so, and this becomes the connector. However, at the end, okay, that was a bit too long. And form the curve. That is noon. Now for ha. Ha, if you recall, at the beginning of the shape of the ha, is the incomplete triangle. then you form the circle, and then that's ha. This becomes the connector, and you continue. In the middle of the word, however, there are two methods to write it. One is to write it, so here's the connector before, the connector after, and you draw the shape of the letter. This is rarely used, however. This is how it is normally written. Here's the connector before, draw an 8. However, the top half of the 8 is above the line, the bottom half of the 8 is below the line, and connect it afterwards like so. At the end, there are two formats. This is not included in them. So the first one is simply to write the letter. Here's the connector before it. Draw the letter, and this becomes the end of the word. This is somewhat rare, though you will find it in some books and some texts. The common method is as follows. Connector, elevate the head, draw a circle just like the fa or the qaf, and end it like so. This is if the ha has a connection before it. But what if the ha has a letter that does not connect after it, such as Alif, for example? How would I write the ha? You can write the ha as such, the shape of it, or the most common method, and I will write it here. This is the shape of the ha if it does not have a connection before it. A circle or a 0. And of course it is on the line. Let me rectify that. I should have mentioned this in the beginning of the lecture, and I apologize if I forgot. Most letters that do not have variations such as ha, if they are preceded by a letter that lacks a connection such as an alif or a ra, they are drawn the same way you would draw it at the end of the word. So sin, for example, or lam, but without the connector. I should have mentioned that in the beginning, and I apologize. It slipped my mind. So this is ha. So just remember, it's either this or this, depending on whether or not it is connected. Remember these two shapes when we come to the tied ta. Remember the tied ta, or the ta marbuta, which we said is a special character. We will talk about the ta marbuta later on. Just remember these two shapes for the tied ta, because this is how you write the ta marbuta at the end of the word if it is not connected, the same as this. If it is connected before it, you will write it like so, just as this. We will talk more about it later on, God willing, once we start writing words. Just remember the connection between these two for now. Now, the penultimate letter is waw, which is the second vowel. And if you recall, waw was drawn in a similar fashion to ra. I was about to say r there for a moment. You have the circle and then curve downwards. Head, body. Waw functions, or rather is drawn in a similar manner to ra in terms of connections. So it connects with the letter before it, it does not connect with the letter after it. So in the beginning of the word, you will have the circle and then curve downwards, space, and then the letter. Waw in the middle of the word will have the connector, circle, and then curve downwards, and space. At the end of the word, exactly the same as the middle. That is for wow. And remember, these connectors are, or rather indicate a letter that connects before it. If a letter does not connect, such as an alif, you will not draw the connector. You will draw it like this, without a connector. Lastly comes the letter ya, the third and final vowel. But it can also function as a consonant, as we mentioned earlier. For ya, if you recall, it was shaped like an S or a duck with 2 dots at the bottom, head and body. However, at the beginning and middle of the word, it functions like a plate letter or a pan letter. So this is how you write ya at the beginning of the word. Yeah. This becomes the connector, and this indicates a word after it. In the middle of the word, exactly like ba and ta and tha and noon. This becomes the connector, and this indicates that it connects before it. However, at the end of the word, the head fuses with the connector, like so. So here's the connector, and then you curve downwards right away. So that the head is fused with the line. You do not draw the head like we drew it before. It is fused with the connector. If ya is not connected to a letter before it, such as alif, for example, then you would draw the head and then the body. And that is it with regards to writing the letters in different positions or different indices of the word. What I would recommend for you to do after you have practiced writing the letters in different parts of the word, that you create a word. Does not have to be a proper Arabic word. You can mix and match letters as you see fit, just to practice connecting letters. So you can say qaf with a ayn with a waw. That is actually a word, but I was aiming for a connection of letters that had no meaning, but I fell for it. This is an imperative for sit or do, depending on the context. But I want to choose, so you can connect a ba with a ta with a noon, for example. This is not a proper Arabic word, at least I hope it is not, but it is simply for you to practice connecting letters together. Or you can connect a waw with a ra with a lam, for example. Try different permutations and combinations, and if you would like, you can send me screenshots or send me paint files or Photoshop files or clip note files of your writings if you would like me to look over them and review your work. It is up to you, of course, or you can return to this lecture and previous lectures as a fiduciary. It is up to you. Next lecture, God willing, we will cover pronouns, or perhaps we will cover the types of hamzas and then articles and then pronouns. I will see what is the best lecture to cover next. But for now we cover the important parts, which is how to pronounce the letter, how to write the letter, and how to pronounce the letter with a tashkil or with a diacritic. Before I forget, because it is connected to this lecture. Remember when we talked about the diacritics, we said they're basically double diacritics, so 2 fathas, 2 dhammas, or 2 kasras. For the tanween fath, or 2 fathas or double fathas, there is a special rule for it in terms of writing. And it is merely for differentiation, nothing more. When you write, and this always comes at the end of the word, you will never see a tanween in the middle or beginning. If you have a letter ra, let us say, whether it is connected or not, I'll just do the hyphen to indicate that this is the end of the word. And you put the tanween fath as so, you must write an alif after it. This is a meaningless alif. It is not pronounced, it is simply written. The reason for writing it is for differentiation. As I said earlier, diacritics and dots were added when non-Arabs entered Islam and they were trying to read Arabic. It was somewhat confusing for them. So the scholars had to devise a method for syntax to help the non-Arabs differentiate between letters. So this is a meaningless alif. It is written, it is never pronounced. You will do so with every letter that ends with a tanween. What if it is a letter that connects to a letter after it? So let us say, for example, sin. You will draw it like so. However, remember, you do not pronounce the alif. You will say sen, which is the tanween fath, without pronouncing the alif. What if it is a hamza on the line? And I did not mention hamzas because we will cover all types of hamzas in its own lecture. It does not connect after it or before it. And you draw the tanween like so. So for example, if I want to say sama an, there. So that is it with regards to writing the letters. I hope this lecture was beneficial for you. If you feel that I have forgotten something or made a mistake somewhere, please alert me in the comments below so that we can all learn and we can all benefit from the knowledge. Thank you very much for your time, and I will see you in the next lecture.